Welcome to this live chat facility tutorial. We have had a lot of questions recently about the chat facility and how to use it, so let's get into the video. The chat facility is built with students in mind, with a tool that doesn't need to be parent or teacher led. Each of our pages are linked to the person behind the broadcast, even after it's finished, so you can always ask your questions and get a response about the broadcast. So, let's have a look at how to use the chat facility. To use the chat facility, the first thing to do is to type your comment or question into the chat box. You can now enter your screen name. Your screen name will show when you type your question or comment. Now you will see the chat facility ask for your email address. As I mentioned before, each of our pages are linked to people from the organisation who can reply to your questions. You can enter your email address, which will not be shared with anyone, to get a direct response from the people behind the broadcast. If you do not want a direct response, then click the button at the bottom. People behind the broadcast can still respond to you if you don't provide your email address. This just means you may have to come back to the page to check the response. To type your question, simply click on the chat box. You will then see two symbols appear. The @ symbol will mean your comment or question will be posted publicly for others to see. The email symbol means your comment or question can be sent directly to the person of your choice from the list that will appear. You can now speak to the people behind the broadcast and ask any questions you may have, or check out our partner pages to see the companies we work with who you can speak to right now about their current vacancies. You can also check out our careers page, which connects you to employers. Our live chat service is linked 24/7 to employers from a wide range of sectors, all waiting to hear from you. You can leave a question about how to produce a professional CV or how to prepare for interviews, anything work related, and one of our businesses will respond to you directly. You can also access a wide variety of live interactive broadcasts and video on demand with the live chat support on all pages. Now this bit is for the parents, guardians and teachers. The best bit about the live chat facility is that it is completely moderated, so you don't need to worry if your young person leaves a silly comment, as it will only show on their screen and no one else's. Another great thing about the chat facility is that it is GDPR protected, so no information is shared with anyone else. We will protect all email addresses and will never share personal information of the young people. If you have any questions about the chat facility or the Learn Live channel, please use the email us icon at the top of the page. Thank you, stay safe and stay tuned.
Good afternoon everyone. We hope you've had a nice lunch and feel ready to go again and continue with your Esteem Pavilion project. In the next broadcast, you're going to hear from a range of people with different roles in construction. From understanding how big your site is and how you might envisage that space at home, thanks to a land surveyor, to meeting some of the professionals who work here in the UK and in Dubai, so you can understand how they all work together in a construction project. Again, experts are on hand after the broadcast to answer your questions that you may have by placing them in the live chat, which is next to the video player. Now, on with the broadcast.
Welcome to the Esteem Pavilion Koyo Design Challenge 2020. The following short film was made by Levi Brown, who's a vertical construction manager at Topcon Positioning, Great Britain Limited. Levi will introduce learners to measuring and setting out a site. By studying the student brief, you will see that there is a maximum area allocated for the esteemed pavilion and grounds. This is 20 metres by 20 metres, which equates to 400 metres squared. Now you can use the same principles in this film to mark out sites of all sizes.
Hi, my name is Levi Brown from Top Compositioning, working alongside DEC, Design, Engineer, Construct, and I'm here to show you how to measure a large square space without any of the fancy tools that surveyors usually use. Now, I've tried several ways.
First up, I tried to use a tape measure, but the longest one I had was only 5 meters long, so not really good enough for a big open space. Then I remembered that distance is equal to speed over time, so here's me timing a run. But in reality, who's got time for that? So next up, some gymnastics. Super fun, but essentially a waste of time. Let's just stick to the math, shall we? Now what a lot of surveyors do is learn how long one of their strides or footsteps is. Even better, if you can learn to practice pacing out a meter, it will be easier to do the maths in your head. So I learned how to do this by laying out a 3-meter tape on the ground and practicing walking the distance in just 3 steps. Now I know that one of my paces equals 1 meter. So to start setting out my big space, I placed an object on the ground to mark my start point. I used the tape measure from earlier. You can use anything, as long as it will stay in the same spot. Once you've done this, begin pacing in a straight line, counting your steps or your meters. Surveyors call this a bearing. So now, once we've measured or paced our distance, we can stop, turn 90 degrees to our left, use something else to mark this spot, then repeat that process again along your new 90-degree bearing. If you want to be really accurate, you can use Pythagoras' theorem. Now you've probably heard it before, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now I'll try and quickly explain how we can use this to check our angle. You need another pair of hands and 2 items to mark your 3 and your 4. Now let's imagine that this is the footprint of the building that we're trying to set up, and we started from the top left corner, and we've already walked down our first distance on bearing, and now we're at the bottom left corner. So if we can measure 3 meters back from the way we came along our bearing, this becomes our 3 in our triangle. Let's mark that. Then we can measure 4 meters in our new direction and mark this. And to check our angle, we can measure between those 2 points. Now if this is 5 meters, give yourself a pat on the back. Great job. If not, don't worry. We can adjust one of those marks until we have a 90-degree 3, 4, 5 triangle. Now once we're happy with this, we can repeat the process along the new bearing, remembering to mark each new corner as you go along. Do this until you arrive at the first point that you started on.
So, your turn. See if you can find somewhere 20 meters by 20 meters and plot out a square building. Now don't worry if you can't get to a park, measure your bedroom and use maths to sort of see how many bedrooms will fit into that 20 by 20 meter space. Have fun.
Hi there, I'm Alex McLaren. I'm an architect and associate professor at Heriot-Watt University. During lockdown, we're keen to keep everyone learning, and so my colleagues and I have made some short videos to help you with the Esteemed Pavilion Challenge. We hope you enjoy it. So, one of your tasks today is to look at different roles in construction, to research those, and to document them for your final report. You'll find it really helpful to think of these different roles throughout the week as you go through developing your pavilion design project, because each of these different people would have different ideas to bring to the table at each stage of your design. Construction is all about teamwork, and there are so many exciting roles to be had and so many different kinds of people that are needed to fill them. I'm going to hand over briefly to my colleague Lindsay, who's going to talk about what first got her interested in construction and the different roles she's had and the different places she's worked since she made the decision to have a career in the construction industry.
My fascination with building design and construction started from when I was shown design and engineering drawings by friends of my parents when I was in early secondary school. I remember thinking that the drawings looked incredibly complex and what a challenging yet rewarding profession it must be in that sector. I completed my studies at Dundee Duncan of Jordanstown, and upon graduating I was just desperate to get out into the industry to learn further about all the different building types, construction methods, and follow the process from start to finish, as well as meeting, learning and experiencing all the different professions that are involved in design and building. Same sector, but different setting. 2006 saw a move in my career to the United Arab Emirates, where I continued my career working within the design and construction sector on various projects across the Middle East. My experience working on high-rise residential and hospitality towers saw me work with a very diverse mix of people with experience and backgrounds, from innovative structural engineers to brilliantly creative facade lighting designers to financial controllers and clients who were really progressive in their outlook. The buzz you have on a building site is great. You're surrounded by people in different roles, from subcontractors that might be bringing certain materials to the site. You have the contractor who is overseeing the project buildability. You have the project managers that are overseeing that entire process towards the deadlines and criteria set by the client. So it's fantastic. And this is a great project, a culinary academy shown.
And I can't help myself. I always like to see developments, perhaps progress on materials, what have they built next, how far is it going along. And so I may annoy parts of my family when I want to have a little stop and take certain pictures just for my own liking. And I'm going to do that just now, have a little look at these villas, how they're coming on.
Whatever your role in construction, you're always working as part of a team. Here are some further reflections from other colleagues on their experience of working as part of our team at Heriot-Watt and in their careers so far.
As an architectural engineer, we are generally expected to be able to work in groups of different people. So in industry, we'll be working on a building site. We might be on a multi-story building. It might be something quite small like a house, like what we're doing.
As an architectural engineer, we worked alongside geographers, business students, electrical engineers, and many more. And they brought not only a new perspective to me, but also to the house and its capabilities. So, for example, the geographers have given more in-depth knowledge of how to make the most of the location, which is Dubai for us for the competition, or the structural engineers have worked really hard to make sure that our actual design is strong enough to bear with any kind of impacts the environment might bring.
My work focuses comfort and air quality in and around a building. I work closely with architects to ensure a building is properly designed so that it can provide a shelter for its occupants away from harsh outdoor environment.
In this project, we're working really closely with structural engineers, architectural engineers obviously are all together, architects, we've got civil engineers as well.
Most interestingly, I really like building services engineers because they take what an architect does, what a civil engineer does, and puts that in together in a design of building services that makes the building work for all the people inside of it.
My main areas of interest lie in architecture, design and innovation.
I'm Edward Whiten. I'm the Operations Director of Inverty Homes, based in Dundee in Scotland. And this is one of our construction sites.
My job is to make sure the systems we design will do good job efficiently and at a low capital and environmental cost.
I am an interior and environmental designer, and I'm also an assistant professor for Heriot-Watt University. So when I'm teaching, I teach to a wide variety of built environment students, usually to do with design and the design process.
On a daily basis, we can be involved in anything from the on-site activities, pouring of concrete, erecting of timber frame kits, etc., to being back in the office, hosting meetings with architects, engineers, and any of other professional team to ensure that we can forward plan for our next sites.
The structural engineers have brought together into the project the expertise of how the house works, because we are in the desert, so sandstorms do blow a lot of wind, obviously, and a lot of sand onto the building. It has to be able to stand up to that. This all works together with us as well, so we have to make sure that the vents are in a position where they can be closed, or we need to make sure that the house itself is going to be safe to be in while the sandstorm's going on. Architects are the same as well. They obviously have a lot of leeway and design input into the interior and the exterior, but being able to work around with them and how everything works is really important as well.
You may have had time already to complete the Go Construct quiz, and that may have given you some insight into the different roles within construction that perhaps you weren't aware of.
Welcome to this live chat facility tutorial. We have had a lot of questions recently about the chat facility and how to use it, so let's get into the video. The chat facility is built with students in mind, with a tool that doesn't need to be parent or teacher led. Each of our pages are linked to the person behind the broadcast, even after it's finished, so you can always ask your questions and get a response about the broadcast. So, let's have a look at how to use the chat facility. To use the chat facility, the first thing to do is to type your comment or question into the chat box. You can now enter your screen name. Your screen name will show when you type your question or comment. Now you will see the chat facility ask for your